cavalry has arrived. Crosshair, can you lend me a hand?
I'm looking for
Both of them are sitting there with
What's
just
happening with everybody's hands?
Oh no! Well done. It's a handshake. Oh.
Very funny.
This guy, he was on the verge of death, and he ends up being the one that's fine.
Yeah.
Wrecker was looking pretty rough.
Pretty
looked like
rough.
He was not gonna make it.
We'll dive all into it, but welcome back to the Star Wars Guys podcast. As always, we are your hosts, Mike.
Hello there.
Myself, Nate. Hello there. And you know him well, Uncle.
Hello there.
We're excited.
Yeah.
We're excited and sad.
And sad.
We're excited and sad. Excited because what a fantastic episode the finale of Bad Batch was, but obviously that means the end of a great show.
The end of an era of clone television.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least, in that capacity. We will
Yeah.
probably get additional stories of specific clones, but I don't we'll get into it, but this might be the end of the actual clone focused storytelling
Yeah.
that's been going on since 2008.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
original Clone Wars stuff. So,
Yeah.
end of an era.
Yep. We're going to dive all into it. But before we do, a word from our sponsor. This podcast is sponsored by LegionSabers.com. Is your lightsaber a fragile toy? LegionSabers.com sells battle-ready NeoPixel lightsabers that can take a beating in style with features like Flash on Clash, Smooth Swing, and Gesture controls. Upgrade your saber today and experience the lightsaber battles your inner child has always dreamt of. And they're fun. They're fun.
Yep.
But there's more this month. Buy a saber, buy any saber, get a free mystery baselit absolutely free with the code Star Wars Guys.
Star Wars
How about that?
Guys.
With the
There
code
you
Star
go.
Wars Guys. Visit LegionSabers.com. Again, use code Star Wars Guys at LegionSabers.com for your battle-ready NeoPixel lightsabers. They're a lot of fun. You take these things, you swing it around. I've never felt more like I'm in Star Wars.
They're heavy. They're kind of heavy too. I mean, they feel.
Yeah, they feel.
Way,
They've
feel
got that.
good.
They've got that original Lucas, the like medieval knight sword.
Yeah,
appeal
they feel
that you're
right.
talking about a
Yeah.
broadsword. Like you're supposed to have some weight to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, they're a lot
It's
of fun.
awesome.
But we're excited. We're excited to talk Bad Batch. We usually start with overall thoughts. What do you guys think?
Uncle,
Mike,
you want to start us?
I've been starting all of them.
All right, I got it.
Take it.
What a ride! I was so in some of our
Scared.
previous episodes.
No,
yes.
Yeah, actually.
In some of our previous, most recent episodes of Bad Batch, if people have listened, you might have thought that I was saying stuff like, "Oh, I really liked this episode," or "Oh, I like this, but not today," because I didn't like this episode.
Hated it.
I didn't
It's
even.
terrible.
I didn't even kind of like this episode, honestly. If I'm being honest, and this might be hard for you to hear, I loved it. I loved this episode. I loved the finale of this show. I was so satisfied with what we got.
Yeah.
There were a number of things that we, as a lot of people did, because I think it wasn't a huge secret where some of the story was going. So there was a lot of things that were like, great, we knew that was coming, and it felt right.
Yeah.
It wasn't like,
Yeah.
okay, we saw that coming. It was like, no, that was properly set up. But even the way it was executed then surprised me some. Of
Yeah.
like, we'll get to specifics. Like we knew the Zilla Beast would be released,
Mhm.
but then I liked that it wasn't like, and then here's our answer to just destroy everything. It was like Zilla Beast is released, and then he's like on his own.
Yeah,
He
he's
does his
gone.
thing, and he's not saving all of us. Like he gives us our opening, where now we've got to still
Yep.
go.
Yeah,
Batch is
yeah.
still in danger, but it's their opening in.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved the different things they set up. I enjoyed the episode so much. I thought the action was great, but maybe more importantly, I think the character development and the character notes
Like the
each
conclusion,
character
the wrap-up.
moment. Yeah, it was these long. This show is a great character show, and I think they've done the character development on our main core, our Bad Batch, so well from the beginning that, going back to episode 1 of the first season, or even just going back to the beginning or the end of last season,
Yeah.
I would have been kind of shocked to see me care this much about whether or not Crosshair lives or dies.
Right.
And because they've set it up in the development so well, we're getting conversations between Crosshair and his brothers in this, where he is, we'll get to all the specifics, but he's basically like,
He basically said,
listen, I
Omega
deserve,
needs you.
and I deserve this. Meaning, like, he thinks I'm not going to make it out alive, and I deserve this.
Yeah.
And his brothers are like, that's not the way we do things. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, we've lost guys, we've lost tech, our group doesn't look the same, but we're still your brothers. So it doesn't mean the group falls apart. So we're just like, you're on your own.
Mhm.
We're gonna fight. We always do this together. There's so many moments that, like,
Yeah, that moment
internally,
was great.
yeah,
and,
like-
and a lot of that too came from Wrecker in that conversation,
Yeah.
which was cool because we don't get a lot of the
no,
more.
you get the brute force.
Yeah,
stuff
you
with
don't get a
Wrecker.
lot of the
Yeah.
deeper conversation stuff with Wrecker, which
Yeah.
is cool to see in the finale.
It was awesome. We'll get to even. I don't want to ramble too much right off the top because there's so many specific things I love, but I loved it. Loved it. So satisfied.
Yeah, no, I agree. Loved it. I can't picture. I don't know if I can picture a better finale episode,
Mhm.
a better ending, wrap up of the story and these characters. Everything about it was just. I thought they landed on every aspect, the conversation, the actual story itself, where things went. Some of the, like you said, some of the stuff that we maybe saw coming, but wasn't exactly as we anticipated. But so the stuff we saw coming, some of it came to fruition. Even some unexpected stuff with the troopers, so they're like elite troopers coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a
CX
little-
troopers.
Darker than the rest of the episodes.
for sure.
It was
More violent.
more violent. It reminded me a lot of the last episode, or one of the last episodes of Clone Wars, with
Mhm.
Darth Maul's breaking out and going through the hallway scene and taking people out, and they're not shying away from showing what's going on.
Right.
We'll dive more into specific scenes and moments of the episode, but it was great. Loved
I
it.
thought it was I agree. I thought it was one of the most complete finales of any show.
Yeah.
Typically, you can watch a finale and think, maybe this. I see why they did it.
Yeah.
I can't think of a moment in this where I wasn't
No.
feeling like, oh, that seems appropriate.
Yeah.
And it felt, and the very ending with Hemlock and shooting we gave a resolution to Crosshair. Everybody
Perfectly.
had like their moment
Yeah.
to do their thing, and it felt very Star Wars. We had the climax
Mhm.
with the villain being
Yes.
killed, and it was. I just thought it was fantastic.
Everything about it was so great.
Yeah.
It really
And the
was.
unanswered things, Rex, the things that, who's the secret sniper, that stuff didn't seem,
No.
wasn't
It's
really.
kinda showed,
I think
yeah.
it just showed they weren't anybody. It
They're
was
still,
just they
like-
were
on those.
operated clones that he twisted
That's
and
right.
turned his treatment on, or basically did the treatment or whatever he did, and
Yeah.
conditioned
On-
them to
Yeah.
be the
on
way they
that
are.
note, I think for sure, I think what you just said there sums up my feelings too as well. Like, there have been other shows I've really loved the show and even loved a finale that sometimes even midway through the episode or near the end of the episode, as you're feeling it's coming to an end, you go, oh, so they're not going to get to
Not gonna do that one.
not going to get to that, or
Yeah.
they're not going to do that. Oh, they're not going to. I had thought they would go this way. They're not going to get. Where this was like, there wasn't a single thing that was in my mind while watching it. Like, they better hurry this up. We're not going to get to
We're not
this.
gonna
Or
get to find out,
I
yeah.
thought we were going to go. Oh, I guess that's the end. We don't live like. I already thought in my mind we already knew enough about Project Necromancer. It's like, would I love to get even more specifics of like, yes, in these vaults, like I would love a book. In these vaults we had Palpatines. I mean, in this we had this, and these children were specifically because this was step 1, this was step 2. That'd be great. I actually like that in the show they almost kind of made a joke of it of like, Rampart comes to Nala Se with a gun. It felt like the audience basically with a gun said, "Tell me everything about Project Necromancer," and she goes, and then it just cuts away. And then
Yeah.
it comes back to him, and he's like, "Well, that's a lot of stuff."
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
We already knew the basics because we've watched Mando, and because we've watched what happens with Palpatine's return.
Mhm.
We don't have every single step specific as far as the plan, but we know
No, but
that
we
it's
know
about,
enough.
we know it's about Palpatine's contingency plan about trying to get another body and another way to essentially become immortal.
Yeah.
And so we knew that. So I didn't expect during this episode that they would give us a lot more regarding that, because I was like, I kind of feel like they've checked that box for us. They've explained
Mhm.
her. They've explained now pretty explicitly her importance, at least in it, because they've said like because of the M count transfer and all these other hosts haven't been able to absorb the M count number without it diminishing, and that Omega is the only one that does it. So
Mhm.
we knew all those things. The CX troopers, the like super soldiers. I thought what's funny is there was enough in there that like gave me moments of like, oh, these are different troopers even from themselves. Like one has the swords.
You know what I
one
thought
has
when it first started was, are these all variations
of the batch.
of the batch?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And then they kind of branched off enough that
Yeah.
they weren't. And there's one had goggles in there. or
Yeah,
something.
the one
They did.
they showed the helmet on the ground.
I
with
thought it was
goggles,
it-
so
Yeah.
I
It-
kind
it
of felt
seems
like
like
it
they-
hinted at like
Somebody said that was tech. I think that's not tech.
I
Tech's
don't.
dead.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
took it
yeah.
as it's
But-
not
Tech's
tech,
dead.
but he got the idea of creating this force based off his
Yeah.
last encounter with the
Yeah.
Bad Batch.
yeah.
That's where I thought. That's where I'm like,
I need one
he
of
got
those.
the
I need
idea
one
of
of
making
those.
these super soldiers. One that's more like Hunter and has the combat sword knife combat.
Right.
One that's a sniper. You know, he got
Yeah,
this
that's what it felt
idea
like.
of building these
And the one that-
conditioning them because of his
Yeah.
last encounter with Bad Batch.
And the one that Omega was sneaking behind when she was getting on the computer was one that looked kind of like Wrecker.
Yes.
It was a big giant one with who was a lot
The
stronger.
big-
Like
yeah.
so I think that they didn't need to go like, here, I did this and I created exact mirror opposites of you guys. But it was like, she's breaking in the wall. That guy looks like
You'd
me.
have to do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Oh, looks like
So-
me.
I'll take care of her.
So so there's enough there that was like, I
Yeah.
think if we want to look into it like we did, I think that there's definitely stuff that can suggest like, oh, I think that Hemlock was definitely influenced by this group that keeps
Yeah.
destroying all of his plans of
Mhm.
like, okay, we're gonna do stuff. There's gonna be similarities, these specialized troopers, but also I think it can also tie into the Dark Troopers. The music was very similar to the Dark Trooper music from Mando, and in Mando, Gideon says originally the first phase of the Dark Troopers had people in them.
Yeah.
And that
I've
over
eliminated the
time,
weakness.
They've eliminated the weakness.
Yeah.
And they just became these, droids, these robots at the end. So I wouldn't be surprised at all between what we got here. Like that is almost phase one
It seems like it.
of the Dark Troopers.
Yeah.
They had the all black on.
Yeah.
They came out of these, like they came out as very almost like
Almost
part
robot, like
anyways.
even the steps of them like
Yeah.
stepping down like loud. Just
Yes. So because of that, it felt like
they didn't feel human. Like
No,
they were literally
came out
sitting in this
feeling
thing
like
waiting to
killing
be.
machines.
Yep.
So yeah, so all that stuff ties into things that we've seen in other shows and kind of feels like a stepping stone of how we get there. And I never once thought we will definitely get a big reveal of who one of them are because they showed that there were multiple of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
not.
didn't think they were gonna be like. I didn't think it was gonna be a Scooby Doo like
No.
Mr. Wilson from the convenience store, and Mrs. Wilson, and they just keep going down the line and
Yeah.
Where's Goggles?
Goggles?
Why would they make a clone
Why?
of Sid?
They should have known with her
How
with the
perfect.
body and giant.
She's like, I'm not a clone. I
It's a bit-
joined
There's a
voluntarily.
bit more
Yeah.
girth on that one.
I didn't even do this out of force. I just.
I love it.
I love it. I want goggles.
It's pretty cute. Pretty
We've
cute.
got Anakin and Anakin Skywalker and Captain Rex in the chat.
Hey.
Oh, there
yeah.
we go.
Yeah.
What's up, welcome.
fellas?
Old Hunter and Omega, beginning of Tales of the Empire. Yeah, we got
Yeah.
Tales coming up.
Tails coming.
Tales coming up. Old Hunter and Omega. Yeah.
Now is Omega going to be in Tales of the Empire? What? How? What? She's in there
She-
fighting.
What?
She's in there, baby.
Oh, she's in there.
Oh, she's fighting.
I saw someone say, "Oh, they did this just in time for Omega to sneak into Andor season 2."
Ooh.
But unfortunately, if you
I
think
don't
of
It's
think they'll
already been
connect it.
shot.
it's already been shot, and also Tony Gilroy, who does Andor.
Yeah.
It's a thing people like about him, but also something like he's very much like his show is his show,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
not like we'll do a small cameo. He's
Cameo.
not a cameo guy. Where like cameos maybe feel like Favreau's a big cameo.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
Favreau is a huge
Favreau
cameo,
loves
yeah.
a like. Oh yeah, well we can.
Filoni,
that into here.
Favreau's a huge cameo guy. Filoni's like, I like him, but we have to make
Yeah.
sense out of him.
Tony Gilroy's like,
Right.
if Tony Gilroy's like, I'm making my show, and if it doesn't even say the word Star Wars once, great. Like, he's just like, it's like it's almost a feeling of like Todd Phillips' Joker. He made Joker, and it just happens to he transforms into a comic book villain, but it's really just a crime
Yeah.
trauma
Yeah.
movie,
Mm-hmm.
like it's like that. But Tony Gilroy likes doing. Here's my espionage, espionage rebellion show, and it's packaged in a way that it's Star Wars and it works, but also like he made so many original characters
Yeah.
in the show. You obviously have like Mothma and a couple of these other characters that are
One way out.
yeah. So all that to say, I don't see him being the one that would be like, oh, and now we'll put in a new character
Perfect.
for just to tie into it.
Reshoot
No.
one.
So, but
It
It's
does
fun
make
to
me wonder,
speculate, though.
though.
It's fun
It
to
does
speculate
make
where she's gonna
because
pop
of
up.
Omega's age, it makes me wonder if we'll ever.
What age did we nail that down? Has anybody talked about that? I heard somebody say 20 years. That seemed a little far, but that might put it
Yeah.
in the right time frame.
because
20
anyone
years.
well, here's the
Ooh.
thing.
That seems
if
long.
you're, let's think. She said joining the rebellion.
Right.
So this feels. I'm trying to think of how many years have passed. It's got to be less than 20 years, right? Because
It's
the
got to be
rebellion.
less because Luke
Yeah, Project
blows-
Stardust.
yeah.
Luke blows up the Death Star at
19,
18, and he's
right.
already
Yeah.
born.
He's already born.
Yeah,
he's
and this-
born at the end of Revenge
Right.
of the Sith.
I thought it was
so
like 10.
it's got to be like 10.
I was gonna
Maybe
say
12.
10 to 12, like
It's
that
gotta
type
be-
of.
it's gotta
I
be
didn't
like
feel
10
like
years.
we're looking at someone who's in her mid 30s.
No, I
right
didn't
there.
think
I
that.
thought this was like she's like I'm not a child anymore. Like I don't think like
we don't
30
talk about that when
no,
you're 30.
don't
she
usually say
seemed
that.
22.
she
Seems
seemed like
yeah
23.
yeah,
exactly.
she seemed like
Totally.
yeah.
And this was her going off too. Like it felt like this was her big separation moment. Again, not that people can't. But
I mean,
I don't think as like a
no one's-
35-year-old, a lot of you are
you're-
like, Dad, you gotta just let me spread
Time
my
to
wings.
go.
Like,
No, yeah.
I know it's just tough.
They're-
for me to
you're
do.
not
You
saying
lived
I'm
10
not a
years
kid
ago.
anymore.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Where you're like, yeah, I know, because
No
I'm married and
kidding.
have kids.
Yeah, she's like
Yeah.
20.
Yeah.
20.
She's, I think she's like in her early 20s.
20 to low 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even younger. Yeah.
She's
Probably
12.
20s.
No. Yeah.
She's the same age. She just hit a huge growth spurt. And you also have to remember though,
It
that
was
the
cool
clones,
seeing her growing up though.
Oh,
the
I thought
clones
that was
age
great.
fast, and so let me think of how old. Here's what I'm thinking.
Right.
This will
they
help
do.
us.
They do.
Think of how old
They are in Rebels.
they are in Rebels.
That's right.
In the Rebels time period,
The Rebels is 10 years from now, maybe? Or
and Rebels is before. Yeah, Rebels is before. Do they see him before A New Hope? And they're old.
And
They're old.
Hunter's not close to that
No,
age
no,
in
no.
this. This might be 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to
Right?
be like the beginning of the
And
rebellion.
and remember, if this was a regular guy, things like this would slip through. Filoni's not letting any of this.
No,
None of this slips through the cracks. Like
yeah,
he's not going to make a whole show and not think about the time, the age.
yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
going to match.
Especially in a
Yeah,
show where they
especially when you're specifically
way.
having an ending where you're jumping forward in time, they're gonna
It's
think, okay,
gonna
how
fit.
old are they?
Yeah.
and in a show where they've introduced Wolf and Gregor and those guys that are seen in
That's right.
in Rex.
They're
and
already- we already know how
seen
old they are
Them,
there.
so like we're like okay, they're very aware that those guys are in this part of the story and that they survive.
So yeah.
And when they survive
Yeah.
later, they're all old and gray. Like they're definitely older guys now.
These guys are walking the dunes of Geonosis
This-
while
Right.
Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosser are living in luxury on a remote
Those
island.
guys
Oh.
are those guys are Mad Maxing it out there.
They
Remember?
are.
Those guys are.
They are.
Keeping up the
different-
fight,
they're
though.
the Mad Max
Right.
universe, out
going
there for
crazy
sure.
with
their giant machines rolling with their spikes coming. Like they're literally in Mad Max.
Yeah.
their little Jedi. Wolf, no, Wolf, you're
No.
good, buddy.
Wolf.
Wolf, that was 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah, Wolf still never trusts him. Remember Jedi? I kill him. Like, well, easy, buddy. The chip's out. The chip's
Easy.
out.
Take it easy.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's just-
I just.
One thing I love, maybe it's jumping to the end, but I love the fact that we were reminded that all of these imperial leaders,
Yeah.
they're all interested in one thing, and that
Yep.
is themselves.
Themselves.
yeah.
So Hemlock's a
perfect.
scientist. So his future is tied into this necromancer thing.
Mhm.
Tarkin is not.
Doesn't care
So
at all.
he's like, I am so glad this stupid thing is over.
Yes.
Now I can take all of that money and put it into my thing, which is Project Stardust. He's actually glad.
Yeah.
Yes.
He
yeah.
doesn't want to deal with this.
He's also
Stupid. That's not his thing.
each one of these
That's
guys.
Hemlock's idea. I want my idea.
He doesn't
which
care
is
whether
bad.
he doesn't care whether it's vital to the Empire or not.
No,
No.
because it's about him. And
100%.
Stardust is his ticket.
It's not about the Emperor. He's
Yeah.
just like I want to build my way up and keep my role.
That's
and
exactly right.
keep
And-
my own power.
And this is how he does
And
it.
that's so right.
just
He's
love it.
actually happy
Yeah.
that another one of these people who is getting affection
Another
from the
rival.
Emperor is out of there.
It's gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's gone. He did
Now I
not
can do
like
my
that he's
thing.
passed up this chain of command that because he's this witch doctory science thing that all of a sudden
He's getting
Palpatine
close.
is having these secret visits with him and Tarkin's like, wait, what's this about? And he hates this behind
Yeah.
his back. This stuff's going on and Hemlock's so smug and my work is so vital. And he's like, okay, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And then also I love that someone pointed out, I think it was maybe Star Wars Explained. I think Alex Damon maybe pointed out too that he's like, if you really think about it, Tarkin must have spies on Tantus too, because
Has
how
to.
did he know right away?
Oh, he's watching the whole thing.
Yeah, I heard that 5 minutes ago the Zillow Beast released. How does Tarkin know this?
Yeah,
when
Yeah.
when
right.
Hemlock's in charge. So because Tarkin, of course,
He's got people
he's
there.
always trying to undermine and destroy
Yeah.
his rivals. And
Yeah.
so he heard this and he's, the Emperor will not be happy about this. I am on my way now.
Mhm.
And I love the.
You
how
can
about the
expect my arrival.
how about the timing of their shot of they take off, pew, and then boom, boom, boom. Then all
That
the
was
Tarkin stuff
sweet.
like a second late. But it also makes so much sense for what when we were making predictions about how our heroes, how Omega and the rest of the batch make it out and are not just hunted forever.
Yeah.
This is the perfect way. The person to find out that it's being destroyed being Tarkin
The one
is
who
the
wants it
perfect
gone.
one. Because he does not care about this at all.
No.
He actually even
It's a
immediately says, "Cool,
distraction.
pull all the funding from
Yeah,
that.
now
It's
we get to do what
coming
I wanna
my
do."
He said,
ring.
"Let's get rid of this facility.
Let's get rid of this. Shut it down. So it's still there, but they're not doing anything with it. And it just makes so much sense that the secrets of Omega died with Hemlock.
Yeah.
Because Hemlock's also not even the type that's like, cool, oh, I just found out that it's Omega. Let me go tell Palpatine that it's Omega. He's the type of, I found out that it's Omega. Tell Palpatine I have something to tell him.
Right.
Because I need to get the credit for this. He'll wait
Yeah.
until Palpatine
Well,
comes
I
there.
think
and
that was
listen.
part of Filoni's storytelling is that by her escaping at the same time he found out, he now couldn't tell the
Couldn't
Emperor
tell him,
because
then he's in trouble.
it's also his
Yeah.
failure.
Yeah.
He's let the
Exactly.
most important person in the galaxy for this project
Yeah, you
escape.
can't say it.
So now he's like, I can't reveal the
Yeah.
news because
Then
I
you'll-
got to get her back.
Exactly.
And
Or
by the
else I
time he gets
failed.
her back, he's
And
killed.
the
It's
moment
too late.
Yeah.
the moment he
Yep.
shares a
Great.
secret with Palpatine, he's no longer important because then Palpatine has the information.
That's
'Cause then he
right.
would say, "Oh, so what we need is that girl, and also you're revealing to me that you failed. Okay,
That's
Kill
exactly
him and
right.
let's
So
go
he
get the
couldn't
girl.
say anything.
you can't say anything." And
And of course, the only other one, well, Emery, but Nala Say's not gonna.
Nala
Yeah,
says
Nala
not-
They
Say's
both
not gonna-
want to protect her at the end of
Yeah.
the day. So it
So
was
it's-
very clever.
What a great.
and,
we just
and
had
Nala
such a
Say
great.
going out, going down with the ship per se. She is the one who created this whole thing, so she couldn't. Is the Emperor?
She even.
The Emperor knows about Nala Say.
Right.
Because the Emperor was instrumental in the whole cloning
That's
thing
right.
with the Kaminoans. So that's not even
You
just
can't keep
specific
her now.
to.
She can't stay.
She couldn't have survived and been safe. They
Mhm.
would have hunted her down forever.
That's
Yeah.
what she was saying about the it dies with.
That's why she
Yeah,
was saying, "I
she
can't.
said
I,
it is
I won't let
ours.
the. I
It's
won't let the
ours.
Empire keep.
Yeah,
keep-
and it's
If
all,
I
it
go,
will
there's-
always be Kaminoan.
There's no connection anymore to this.
It'll
her-
always be Kaminoan.
Kaminoans
yeah.
are gone.
her
so
having to destroy the lab while Weasley Rampart follows her. I also love that Rampart. And
brings about the destruction of the whole thing.
I love that
He's
Real
such a
Rampart.
things.
weasel.
When we were watching this, because anyone who is listening,
The
they're
look
watching right now.
He's
We
behind
all
it,
watched
and
this
then just,
together, and that was one of my favorite moments of the episode. Of they're sharing this plan, and then Rampart goes, Like leans to the side, and we all go, "What a weasel!" We just know he's gonna turn
about-
on them.
Yeah.
And not that anyone thought that he was with them, but we just knew he's not gonna have a hero's.
He's
turn.
gonna
He's
try
not,
and
he's not
he's gonna
having
try
a
and work
redemptive
his way
moment.
back up in the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that his greed of like, here's my moment. I'm gonna get my status back. I'm gonna do all this. I'm gonna shut down this. The Emperor's gonna love me for this. Him following Nala Se got him killed.
Yeah.
Because if he would have just stayed with the group or stayed out of the way, the Zillo Beast is running wild. He could have just walked through the halls. He would have been fine.
Right.
Instead, he follows her, and she's like, "Oh, why did you come here?" Also, he shoots her, and that's what kills him.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
another great.
It
Again,
was brilliant.
the way they did all the storytelling was so good. Is that if he doesn't even shoot her there, he shoots her. She's got a thermal detonator. She knows he's there. So
By
as soon as he
releasing
pulls the
it.
gun,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
It's
felt
yeah.
like it. I don't know. It felt like it was so well thought out. Like
It
felt
does.
like
I felt
they had
every-
the ending done,
the
and then he
ending.
worked backwards to the
Yes.
beginning of the season.
Yes.
That's what it felt like.
That is because everything felt just perfectly in line.
Yeah.
Like
'Cause you had
everything
to
fell in
have-
place.
All these things. You had to have Rampart there. He had to be. There had to be someone who
Think
could
of
fill
all-
that role. But the only person would do that with someone who has ambitions on their own.
Yeah.
That's not important, but also understands enough to know that they can get it and bring themselves back into power. Had to be a prisoner.
Think
had
of-
to be captured. Had to be saved. It was all really well
yeah.
thought out.
Yeah. Think of all of the different character wrap ups they had to think through for this. I mean, like just going down the line of each character. Nala Se, after 3 seasons, finally has
Yeah,
a
they-
wrap up her conclusion and does so in a heroic way.
heroic and ended correctly.
Heroic
really a
ended
wrap of the
correctly.
whole Kaminoans.
Yeah, wrapping
like
up
the end
all
of
of the
their-
Kaminoans, all of that.
They're all gone.
Yeah, I mean, literally going down the line. Rampart, conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Each of the Bad Batch had their own. Crosshair gets a final shot.
Yep.
Oh,
Hunter-
Crosshair losing a
With
hand.
the
Hunter
left,
and
too.
Crosshair having a connection with each other there
Mhm.
at the end of like
Redemption.
Wrecker
True
wasn't
redemption.
with them. It was
True
true redemption with both of them.
That's right.
With it wasn't Hunter just saying like, okay, I believe in you now. It was
Yeah.
Hunter was now believing in him and he was letting Omega. He was not putting Omega at risk, but he was letting Crosshair know like his trust in Crosshair to save
Yes,
Omega.
that's right.
Shows almost more loyalty and trust to him than like him doing it for himself.
Yeah.
Because of how much he cares for Omega.
Right.
So like having Crosshair take the shot, having like telling him Omega knows what to do. It was a wrap up of even Omega at she's obviously young, but it was a conclusion to her building all the way up to like she knows what to do. She's
Yeah.
been trained. We've been doing this for years. She's ready. She's done this. I also loved even when the kids get saved. Before the last, 2 seasons before this, Echo, any of the Bad Batch would have tried to tell Omega, go with them. This isn't, we'll do this.
Mhm.
You're too young. We want to protect you. But in that moment, they didn't even, Echo
Didn't even think about
didn't
it.
even think about it.
Mm-mm.
They said,
The
go with
kids
Emery.
go with the kids go,
Yeah.
and Echo says, we have to go save our brothers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Knowing Omega's in this.
Yeah.
She's not only
Well, as we
vital, she's the one that actually got them all to escape.
they
with the
figured it out that she
plan.
saved them every episode. She
Every
was
time.
saving them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
She was saving them
Yeah.
almost the whole
she is
show.
the most valuable
Like,
member
Yeah.
of
if
the
you
Bad
watch
Batch.
it.
Yes.
So it
Yeah.
was just cool because as soon as that happened in my mind, I thought, oh, they're like it's progression of the story and them realizing even for them they're like Omega's
She's
in it.
We
She's
can't.
in
We probably won't be able to do
Yeah.
this if she's
Yeah.
not here.
Yeah.
the
But even Wrecker getting a lot of highlight in this episode. Some more emotional
oh yeah
commentary, his lines, but even just him going through the ringer this episode of
Yeah.
really putting himself not that he was always sidelined, but it seems like everybody else's specialty was more geared toward the protection of Omega, and he had some moments with her,
Mm-hmm.
with the teddy or with the
It was
the animal thing,
yeah,
and all
stuffed
that stuff, but it seemed like in this, there's a big highlight on him towards the match as a whole.
Yeah.
And just,
I just thought
saving
about-
them and putting himself
I
in
just
front
thought
of
about something
harm's
that
way. And,
Hunter as the leader had to step back and not kind of lead.
Yeah.
Crosshair as the sniper lost his main weapon.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wrecker as the strong guy was the weakest
Yes.
in the whole show. He was the weakest from the beginning because he was just beaten down.
This
And then
yeah.
at the end, they all overcame that.
They
Yeah.
did.
And
They had to. Yeah,
Yeah.
on that point,
know what I mean?
they had to all
overcome their
overcome
their
their
thing.
loss of their
whatever
they're
it
not
is.
defined by just their special attribute.
That's right.
That it was really their
They're
loyalty
more than
to
just
each other and,
Yeah.
their connection to each other. Is that when Wrecker was when Wrecker was his weakest, his brothers were at their strongest, and they protected him, and they
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and when Crosshair makes the shot, it's not because he just regains his confidence. It's because his brothers talk him up.
Yeah.
So
well,
you got
and
it.
He said, I can't do this. He
Omega
said,
knows
do
what
it.
to do.
You
So
do
Omega
it.
knows the timing. Do it. You can hit this.
Just
he does
wait
it with
for
the
her
left
cue.
hand.
Hunter's
Just
there,
wait.
yeah,
Wait for her
supporting.
cue.
He's sitting there telling him like, "Come on, you've got this." And
Yeah.
Omega gives him a look like, "I trust you."
Mm-hmm.
And again, each of them.
That moment was just such a
was
such
awesome.
I love that moment for Crosshair too.
yeah.
Of
Yeah.
him of going from not only the trauma of him being at this place, how bad his like jitters and stuff were going into it, because we saw that
Yeah, it was
in
at
it
a-
as
it's
a
at a-
glimpse, like it was at a height going back into this facility.
Yeah.
And then to lose his hand, have the conversation with them about this is the end for me. Like Omega needs you guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is the end for me. I deserve it. Like going into that and then him feeling that way and then turning around and it becoming the opposite, where they all are now are like, no, like take the shot.
Mm-hmm.
We believe in you.
Yeah.
Take the shot. Omega believes
This
in
is what you're here for.
Yeah.
I don't know if Filoni's a Bible guy, but it reminded me of the story of the prodigal son in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where the two sons, the one is there, and the other son goes off
Yep.
and finds his way back. At the end, I heard somebody talking about that Omega has a greater connection to Crosshair now. I don't think that's it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's why.
Yeah.
She went to Crosshair first because he was gone and
He was gone,
returned.
he was
Yeah.
returned.
Hunter has been with her.
Yeah.
You
I mean, they've
notice-
been separated, but he's
Yeah.
always been on her
He's
side.
always
and if you
Crosshair
notice in
was
the
an
coda,
enemy.
Yeah.
They came back, and it's more. There's a special redemption that he
Yes.
needed.
yeah.
That's why she went to him first.
And in the
It
coda,
was for him.
Yeah.
in that ending
Yeah.
scene
She
of the
needed that.
episode,
Yeah, he needed that.
in the ending scene of the episode, it's Hunter and Omega sitting.
That's
there.
right.
Yeah.
And we
Because-
needed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Because that's what it's been from the beginning, and they've always
And we
had that
predicted,
special
was
connection.
our Hunter and Omega going to get their
Yeah.
moment after
Yeah.
all this? Because it seemed
Yeah.
like that's been pushed
Yep.
aside this season.
Yeah.
For good reason, because they've been focusing on this stuff.
Yeah.
Her and Crosshair, and even Crosshair and Hunter having some, back and forth. So it seemed like we needed that
Mm-hmm.
moment, and they,
I
of
need
course,
to,
they
I
ended
need
with
to
it.
point this out too, because this is funny. Abigail, my wife, just texted me because she and Isaiah watch our episodes in the morning.
Yeah.
Watch
Are
our-
they in there?
They're not. I don't think they're in the chat, but they're watching and they're texting. And Abigail said, Isaiah just said, "Mom, Daddy doesn't have his coat on," because the last handful of episodes, it's been kind of cold down here.
Yeah.
That I've been so comfortable wearing the coat.
Wearing
but
the
then
coat.
episode starts and I forget. And each week I've had a Star Wars shirt on and the coat zipped up over it
Yeah.
because I was cold down here. And so now apparently I've worn it so many times that my 2-year-old son, Isaiah,
It doesn't have his coat
immediately
on.
says, "He doesn't have his coat on."
He's gonna stay.
Yeah. So I don't always wear a coat, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. No.
But when I do, I prefer.
So yeah, no, it's
That's great.
there's
Is
so
there
many-
is there a more selfless character in all? I'm trying to think of one. A more selfless
Than
character
No.
than
Than
Admiral-
Tarkin.
I was a vice admiral. than Omega.
I miss
No.
this.
No, she is.
I mean,
No,
is there
she's
one?
gotta be-
Maybe
No.
I don't.
I can't think of one. Maybe Chewie.
No.
Maybe Chewie.
No,
Perhaps.
we don't really know. Chewie could.
I know.
Chewie could be.
He
going,
could be
"Ah,"
the whole
Chewie could be
time is
saying,
like, this is
"I'm
stupid.
in it for me.
The whole
Chewie's really-
time.
Where's my gold?
Yeah.
I didn't get a medal.
Chewie could be, for all we know, we could for years be standing up on Chewie's behalf, going like, "Man, he deserved a medal," and Chewie could be sitting there going, "This is terrible. What is this about?"
I'm imagining now that Chewie is from the southern part of Kashyyyk.
Yeah.
Oh my! I can't find my shoes. That's what he sounds like in Kashyyyk.
Also, why
And the
was-
northern Kashyyks are like, why does he talk like that?
Why was my
I can't find my good.
Why was my Chewie? Because Chewie goes, why did I say that he all of a sudden talks like Pee-wee or something? I was like, I don't like it. Like, that's not, I can't imagine.
Oh
that.
my!
Oh my.
We got
The
we got
moment-
Derpy in the chat. It says, "Good morning.
Hey,
I got my
Derpy.
Phantom Menace tickets.
Oh,
All
right.
I've got them
nice.
too.
Yeah,
I
you're
got
going
mine too.
3,
in
4.
1999.
99.
I'm just
Yeah.
no, it's
Phantom
back
Menace,
out.
ready. I'm ready
Wow.
for it.
The some other specific moments.
I can't
That-
wait. I just can't wait to see her adventures. We're gonna see.
I know.
We
I
gotta
love
see
that
her
that's
adventures.
set up now.
Omega.
I can't. She's the perfect rebellion fighter.
All right, let's ask the question.
Man,
I think.
Is it do you think we ever get Omega live action? Yeah.
I think we could. I think there's a
I
big
would-
question as to where any
Or
of the
maybe
live
an
action's
animated.
going.
Maybe
I was just
animated.
gonna say.
I don't know. Maybe.
I think put this way. Do I think we'll get more Omega storytelling? Yes. Do I think it's gonna happen in the next year? Probably not.
Omega's
I think
just
there'll be a break from it.
she's
But
such a great character.
she's great. She is the most selfless character, I think.
I have
that
a
we've
question
seen.
in my mind. You guys can add this too. Do you think, and I don't have an opinion on it yet necessarily, do you think that live action is somehow a higher form of entertainment than the animation? In other words,
This is what's
is
funny. We're
Omega
talking about
fully
this.
evolved? Is she not fully evolved until she's live action, or is this enough?
I think it's enough. I think naturally, just from an audience perspective,
Maybe you guys can add something
People
to
Yeah,
this.
this is a good.
people-
This is a good discussion.
yeah, you could throw some comments in chat too. I think from like an audience, a viewer's perspective, there's maybe some of the live action might seem a little more relatable just because it's realistic.
Mhm.
Like it's you're seeing actors, you're seeing like physical people
Yeah.
portray that.
Well, in numbers
But-
wise, the live action just always has more viewers.
In the
Just-
live
that's
action-
just
that's
how-
what- yeah,
that's just
from an
how it is,
audience
because
view.
there will be a portion of the audience, regardless of how good the storytelling is, that'll go, "Oh, is that a cartoon show? I don't watch that." I'm an
But
adult.
to answer your question though,
does Theory
I
call it
don't think I
cartoons?
don't think
Oh,
I
sorry.
don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because it's been proven not to be. I mean, even though we've gotten live action Ahsoka,
Mm-hmm.
the only reason we got live action Ahsoka was because how
Because-
big Ahsoka's character became.
Yeah.
The audience of Star Wars loved Ahsoka and the Clone Wars so much that entire show ended up shifting focus from the main characters in all of Star Wars, Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan, shifted focus from all of them to making Ahsoka the main character of the
Mhm.
show by the end. And so she was such a big part that not only was she in that, she's in Rebels. Yeah, she's gotten a live action show now, but I wouldn't say that that's what put her
Now
on the
we're
map.
there.
It's like, oh, now we're
Yeah.
there. I think if anything, people liked her character and relate to her character so much more because they grew up with Clone Wars and seeing her
Yeah.
in animation.
yeah, I think that
Is it a higher form?
I was gonna say if you were to ask me what I would just naturally have said, especially over the last few years, I would say naturally, internally, I don't think about this on purpose, but there's always been like, okay, oh man, I'd love to see. It's always like, oh, I'd love to see that in live action, because there's something internally that you're sometimes like, because then it feels like the highest form are fully realized. Now, having said that, do I still feel that way? No, not always. I think that there's definitely, I think because the Star Wars animation, to be honest, has such a great track record right now.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't think that live action does, because we're, especially all three of us, are really big fans of the live action stuff they've done. Do I think that live action is always better than the animation? I don't. I think that
And I think the
sometimes it
animation
is.
storytelling is arguably the best
I think
in
you could
all of
argue
Star
that
Wars.
the character development in the animation has been almost consistently better
Yeah.
than
Oh yeah.
than the live action stuff, because I do think there are challenges that come into live action, which is you're obviously you're working with actors and all this stuff, but you are more focused on set pieces. And you're more focused, not than than character, but meaning in animation, there's a lot that goes into animating the thing, but you're not going, okay, we need to shoot on location.
There's
for this.
limits. There's
We
limits
need
to live action.
We're dealing with weather here. We're dealing with the volume here. You're dealing with a specific form, and then you're writing these episodes, storytelling. I think that the animation, if we're talking now about like the wrap up of their third, so we'll exclude maybe Tales of the Jedi right now because Tales of the Empire, that's kind of all feels like it's still kind of one show, even though it's their limited series. But we're talking about their kind of three major long-running animation shows they've had between Rebels, Clone Wars, and now Bad Batch. Each of those, I think, are so... And again, they have their ups and downs. I think even Clone Wars maybe has the highest highs and some of the lowest lows. We always say that. But the character development in it is so well done, and it's written in a way that I feel like each of those finales and each of those character arcs and stories feels so satisfying by the end of it that I do think live action wise, there are definitely, I think almost all of the shows feel like there are moments that I'm like, oh, it feels like they maybe missed the mark on part of this episode or part of this, or and then there's other moments that I'm like, that's the best thing I've seen in Star Wars. So like it's weird because in live action I think you expect so much that if you go in with the highest of high expectations, or you're like, I want to see this actor in this, or I want to see this actor do this, or this character should be like this because that's the last time we saw him.
Yeah.
You're sometimes going to get disappointed, especially when the live action shows are shorter, because I think when a live action show is 30 minutes, it feels really short. When an animation show is 50 minutes, I felt like I was watching a 2-hour movie last night when we were watching this.
Yeah.
So I think that I'm constantly blown away and exceeds my expectations on the animation side. And maybe it's because I feel like going into it, I'm just like, let's just enjoy this. Let's see what it is. And then I'm always like, man, that blew me away. That was incredible.
Yeah.
And while I love the live action stuff, I think that there's sometimes it feels like, oh, man, they maybe had to in this episode, or had to might not be the right word. There's sometimes it feels like they maybe sacrificed a little bit of character development here for this big action set or for this big moment or this big piece where, like, there's moments in Ahsoka that I love so much that I think the character, the emotion was probably better, if I'm just being honest, was probably better conveyed. The reunion, I saw some people pointing this out, and I do think it's kind of fair. The reunion of Omega coming back to her brothers, not in this episode, but in the previous episode, when they first get her off Tantus, is so emotional that for some reason it hit me a little bit better than even Ezra being gone for years.
Oh,
and he gets back and sees Hera.
Hera.
And he kind of has like a joke, which is kind of usually Ezra, but it's not like this big sweeping emotion. It's kind of like, oh, he's back. And so I think sometimes that can, I don't know, I'm rambling. So Uncle, do you feel like it's higher than, or do you feel like internally have you always felt like there's kind of a hierarchy and now it's shifted in your mind, or how do you feel?
Yeah, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but having said that,
Yeah.
I in my brain have a higher. I think I do.
Yeah.
I think I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't. Maybe it's because the conditioning when I was
For live
younger,
action?
for all of the,
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
live action to be
Yeah.
the highest
and
form.
it's just me. I don't think it's necessarily
Yeah.
right. I think comic books are at the bottom for me,
yeah, same.
and then above
And then
that is
probably
the
books.
novels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then above that would be like animation. And then above that would be live action television show.
And then
And-
film.
yeah.
At the
And
top.
above that would be movie.
Yeah.
Now, Disney Plus is messing with that
Yeah.
because some of my favorite moments have been animation.
Yeah.
I know.
And some of my favorite my favorite sequences have been shows, not movies.
Yeah.
And I think the reason is you can. How big would the budget be for Clone Wars to do that as a live action show? That'd be the
it'd
most
be
expensive
most
television
expensive
show ever.
Ever.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
just this last episode of Bad Batch with all the extras and the
Oh,
special effects.
Massive.
I mean,
the
even
set
look at
couldn't
the
do it.
look
It
at the
would cost-
flashbacks of Kenobi from Kenobi of
Right.
them showing the Clone Wars flashbacks. They had to fog up like all that whole scene and stuff because they're like, we can't
Or you mean
build
from
all
Ahsoka?
There's no way.
or from Ahsoka. I
Ahsoka.
mean,
That's right.
the flashbacks they couldn't. They had to make that scene all foggy and stuff because they're not going to show them in a huge battle with all these.
You're not going to show
like,
5,000.
You can't show that. It'd be they had to make it look. I mean, part of it was storytelling. It was supposed to be kind of like a
That's right.
mystery
it's a dreamlike
flashback,
sequence
dreamlike
kind of.
sequence. But part of that's also just practical.
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna go build a like it costs a
There
ton
are
of money to do
limitations.
that. There's way more
Eh,
limitations with
So
with
I
live
think
action.
I think that has allowed animation to do. It does something different than live action television shows.
Yeah.
But part of I think what makes these so good is because Filoni is running them,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that was his main medium,
and animation.
animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a great
yeah.
storyteller, and we see that in Ahsoka. But you're also dealing with people. When you're dealing with people, you can't just go. Some people can. Kubrick would do it.
Yeah.
You'll
yeah.
do 75, 80
Yeah, you'll do
takes.
as much
Yeah.
as it needs.
Until the people are just deliriously gone. They don't even know
Yes.
what they're doing
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Animation, you can change that, get this,
Yeah.
change
Yeah.
that. Give me 50 versions of, I'm going to blow stuff up. You can do that in
Quickly.
a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do that with live
No.
action. You
Yeah.
got to capture it.
Reset, get all
Yep.
the extras. Get everyone
So
back in
the
spot, do it
limitations
again.
with sets and
Yeah.
designs and size, and there are none of those with animation.
No,
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think that
Yeah.
I was rambling, but that's my exact hierarchy as well. And what
Yeah,
I
I
was
agree.
getting at is the same thought you did of, but the
messing
animation in
with it.
Star Wars and the live action shows now having like these moments. The Luke Skywalker returning in Mandalorian season 2.
They're doing
So
stuff you
Luke
wouldn't,
Sky- I mean,
wouldn't do in
there's
a movie.
moments like that are like, man, that is in my. If you have the whole landscape of Star Wars and you have comics, let's say it's that order we just talked about of a hierarchy.
What
you
are
got
your
comics
what
all the
are
way through the
favorite
movies.
moments?
You've got moments that are in my Hall of Fame moments of Star Wars. A
Mhm.
number of moments come from the
Oh,
shows.
Anakin and Obi-Wan's fight
Anakin
their
Obi-Wan's
dialogue?
fight.
Yeah.
of him basically Anakin's talking about or Vader saying like I destroyed Anakin.
The
Skywalker.
Anakin, the Anakin
I'm like that's
Ahsoka,
one of my favorite moments ever.
Beautiful.
Hayden Christensen returning as Anakin for Ahsoka, not just fighting her, but also their Clone Wars. Yeah, no kidding. Like their whole like
Yeah,
it's
the
Clone Wars. Like,
hologram.
all that stuff is. Those are moments that I'm like, that is in my Hall of Fame moments of that. The Maul. I mean, there's so many moments, but Maul Ahsoka season 7 of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That's
That's
just
up there.
Yeah.
that is
You've got,
so good.
I mean, honestly, probably Tales of the Jedi.
Ahsoka
the-
Order
Right.
66 with
And-
Rex.
Rex, the
I mean, there's-
Dooku, what's the name of the episode? The Sith, something of the
Qui-Gon?
Sith, the Dooku Qui-Gon,
Yeah.
Yaddle episode
Yeah.
of Tales of the
Tales.
Jedi. That's up there of like some
Mhm.
of the best storytelling I've seen. Some of the books, Light of the Jedi. To be honest, Light of the Jedi is one of is
Yeah.
a very I think
Yeah.
Shadow of the Sith is also one of those that's like man these are some of my favorite
Yeah.
moments. So it's hard because
We're
Yeah.
going kind
I
of
do
big.
still think
Yeah. No,
that's but like
the
when
hierarchy's still
when
there
I
in your
think
brain.
oh I would love to see this in a movie or I'd love to see this in a film or I'd love to see this character it's
We're talking big arcing stuff here, but
Yeah.
I think when you watch movies from the 30s, I tell my kids I love old movies. And my kids have all been watching old movies since they were little. When you watch movies from the 30s, I say, listen, kids, just understand they didn't know how to make movies yet. They were still figuring out the genre because they had just come from silent film.
yeah
And now
Yeah.
they're
Big
making
jump.
talkies. And then there's no color yet. So the actors are still acting like it's a stage, but it's not. So they're still
Figuring it
figuring
out.
out the genre. How many years are we into Star Wars live action shows?
yeah
They're still figuring
There's-
out
Yeah, there's
how because they're figuring out how this thing and streaming TV is different than like network TV in the old days.
very
They
Yeah.
they had to hone that too. Go back and watch The Honeymooners from the 50s.
oh yeah
Shows from the 40s, the late 40s, early 50s. They didn't know exactly how to do television yet with commercials and timing
Yeah.
and cuts and stories, and so I think they're still figuring out what makes Star Wars streaming television unique.
yeah.
yeah
And
I don't
but
think
the
they
animation for
know.
sure.
Animation,
has
yeah.
got it.
They had to, they
But the live action, they're still figuring.
they
it
had
out.
8 seasons or 7 seasons of 4 seasons of
Yeah.
Rebels, 7 seasons to figure it out.
I mean,
6
they've
and then-
literally been working in that.
And
in
so-
that series since 2008.
And to be
is
fair,
when that
look at
came
the
out.
look at the first 2-3 seasons of Clone Wars.
Yeah,
I
see
didn't
how
like
they
it.
figured it out
Right.
compared to.
It takes a while.
I didn't like it, but they
Most-
started figuring it out.
Most great TV shows take 2 seasons to figure out who the characters are.
Yeah.
If you watch The Office, they don't know who Michael Scott is yet.
And then
Yes.
once they hit, you're like, okay,
That's right.
Yeah.
So to write a story and then tell it on television in one piece in 2 seasons is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And so it makes Andor absolutely remarkable
Yeah.
Yeah.
to do that. And I think they're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
And once they get these things dialed in over time,
Yeah.
they know how to make TV, but Star Wars on TV, that's a new.
That's
Yeah.
a completely
Genre.
different thing.
We got
Star
a
Wars
new
on
thing.
TV,
that
the
is
whole
true.
thing.
That's different.
Yeah.
We've got Derpy had mentioned in the chat that he had started watching Bad Batch, but had stopped at one point, and he might give it another try. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Highly
Yeah.
recommend.
It's great.
Give it another try if you haven't finished it. It's the story. I mean, if you like Star Wars animation,
Yep.
Clone Wars, Rebels, if you're into that, Bad Batch is right there. It's right there. It's that good.
Can I make a recommendation? Do we think that typically they run in 3s? Typically?
As far as the episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Usually
definitely
2s.
Definitely Clone Wars did for sure.
Clone
Wars
Big
did.
Time.
This
Not
season
always
of
some of these. Not
I
always.
kinda
This
have to
season of
rewatch
Bad
it
Batch,
just to
Some were
maybe.
twos.
give it- Yeah.
Some of them were 2s because we'd have 2 episodes with Crosshair and Omega, and then we'd jump
You know-
to.
You know what we should do? We should put together a watch.
We should.
We could put together a watch guide because you don't want to watch 1 and then
No.
watch 1. You don't need to do that.
It's
But you might not want to watch 4. You might want to watch 2. So you got to watch these 2, but then watch these 3.
yeah.
This one
That's a good
alone,
idea.
then these
Yeah.
4, and you could do them in one sitting because they're 20 minutes.
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
But
I
you don't
like
want to
that.
necessarily watch them all because the info runs together.
Yeah.
I
Could,
think
could we do that as a
watching
Star Wars
a
guys
Star Wars guys
Watch
project?
Bad Batch watch
Yeah.
guide to which
We also-
episodes?
Project Walkromance. Watch
Watch
Romancer.
Watch
Watch
Romancer.
Romancer.
We also got
It's just like we're
Joe.
watching romance.
Romance.
Watch Romancer. We watch all the great romance movies of all time.
We got
We'll do that for my kids anyway. We'll put one together.
Yeah,
yeah.
I like
'Cause
that.
Well,
We
my
got
kids
Joe.
into
J-Man's in the chat says, "Yo, the
Hey.
finale in all caps rocked. Gonna miss the boys." Also, shout out to the music. The last
Oh,
Kiner,
4
Kiner
episodes,
Thank you,
so
Joe.
good.
Yes.
music has been
It has
remarkable
been
and
so good on the
markedly
show.
different. Just
Yeah.
it's been great.
I
I
feel
mean,
like
we said that even while watching. Like, what the music is so
Ooh,
good.
where'd
from
that
the
come
moment
from?
that it goes to the title card, like a moment starts, the music hits in, and I immediately am set for the stage of what's the vibe of this show.
That's
The
right.
finale episode, like the intro and stuff of the finale, and seeing the colored helmets going
No
from
way.
blue and red to blue and red to then
The
as
dark.
it starts showing the Bad Batch, it's fading, and now it's just black and gray, and
When
you're
the
like,
music
oh.
of the show, whenever the music of the show covers the bumper, I'm like, oh,
Yes,
ooh,
exactly.
Here we go.
Yeah.
It feels immediately like, oh, this episode has
This
a lot
is
to it.
different. Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right, right.
It was so good. You're right, Joe. The music was
that
So
was a
phenomenal.
good.
great
The
point.
episode
It was
rocked.
great
So
throughout.
good. Gonna miss the boys.
Yes.
miss the boys.
Miss the boys. And there were so many things that, again, I know we're getting close to wrapping up here, but as far as the finale, the Crosshair moment in the jungle saying, this is what I deserve, I've got to go into this, that up there is one of my favorite moments in Star Wars animation.
It was so good.
There's been crazier moments. There's been
But that just
There's
the
been
way they
Assad-
did
there's
it
been
just felt so
Savage.
deep.
There's been Savage fighting Palpatine, and like
Right.
those like crazy.
There's been
you've got
Palpatine
Maul-
fighing Maul
that's what I'm saying,
and
Maul
and
Savage at the same
Savage.
time.
Right.
Yeah, like I'm like, what am I watching? This
How-
is insane.
Mhm.
But as far as emotional and like earned moments, like I really felt it in that moment of like, oh man, because this was leading into the previous episode. Rampart's like, yeah, okay, we'll see if you've changed.
Uh-huh.
And then I love that in this same episode, Rampart, they did a good thing because there's a number of times in recent Star Wars, especially in like in some of the live action stuff, whether it's the movies or shows, that a lot of people will predict, oh, I bet character X will get redeemed. This bad guy will get redeemed, whether it's an Inquisitor, whether it's Ben Solo, and there are earned moments there where the redemption makes complete sense and is great. But also sometimes it's nice to see a villain just dig their heels in and
Yeah.
go out as a villain
Double down.
because they just chose. You have a choice, and not everyone who sees a path to redemption chooses redemption.
No.
And I love that you had two characters here. One, Crosshair, who's done some horrible, despicable things in the name of the Empire, in the name of good soldiers follow orders.
Mm-hmm.
But he has so much shame and so much
Yeah.
he is so much tied into all this. And you have Rampart, who has done such horrible things and has no shame about it whatsoever.
No, he actually said,
only
"I
thing-
miss this."
Yeah, the only thing he hates is that he's lost his fall from grace. That he lost his
He wants
title.
it back.
And so he is.
How
he's
many
ready to
people
make
have
a
fallen
move.
from the Empire and not died? Well, I mean, he's dead now, but
Yeah.
but I mean,
Right.
at that time, like they actually showed him grace and let him.
I
move.
Yeah.
know.
So my final point there. I loved that you had these two characters who had a conversation in the jungle in the previous episode, and Crosshair's like, "I've changed," and he's like, "Yeah, we'll see. I'm
Mhm.
sure you have." And then Rampart has a chance to change and go with him, and completely doubles down on his horrible decisions, and it leads
Yeah.
to him literally getting blown up.
Yeah.
And you get Crosshair, who is like, "I deserve this." And it is basically like, "No, listen, if we all go in, there's a good chance we're not all coming out." That's what he says.
Yeah.
And they're like, "It doesn't matter. We don't go by you going in means you're not coming out."
Mhm.
And like so he's like, "Go, get out of here. I need to go do this. This is what I deserve." And they're like, "You're not going on a suicide mission. We know that without tech, our
We know we're not
Impacto
the same.
separated from us. We know we're vulnerable."
Mm-hmm.
Him even Crosshair even
we're
saying
not gonna
the
let you
Bad
go
Batch
out
is
that
not
way.
him saying Tex. Well, let's be honest. The Bad Batch
hit
died
me
with
too.
Tech. I was like, man,
That hit me too. Of like, I
the
this
Bad Batch.
episode did
I'm
such a
like,
great job of we
ah.
thought there was a good chance that
Someone.
Crosshair might die. We also said there's a good chance maybe that they all survive. But what the episode did was the whole time I
thought any of
am
the-
on
any-
the edge thinking, oh, they're
Who
not
is it?
safe.
No.
They're not.
No, I actually
Sometimes you watch a show
It's
and
the
you go, I know
Chewie takes
they're
a
not gonna-
blaster
at a
moment.
there was a
Yes.
moment where I was
What?
thinking Hunter might be the only one to make it out with Omega.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because Wrecker was
Because
really looking
Wrecker,
rough.
there was a point where I thought for sure Wrecker was gone.
The best is Wrecker's
He's
I'm
bleeding
still
internally,
wondering how he
limping through
died.
the
getting
Or
jungle.
how he
hurt,
didn't.
and then I'm all right. Go, keep going. And then
And if that
check in
guy's
with him
showing
again,
pain,
and,
how
and
bad
then
is it?
The last time they
Yeah.
check in with Wrecker, we need to do this. Wrecker just goes. I'm like, oh, he's gone.
Oh
He
man,
no longer is even
get
fighting
out
through
the
the pain.
smelling
Like, he's-
salts.
And then when they cut to Pabu and he's okay, I'm like, oh, thank
Yeah.
goodness. Also, I was glad. It makes sense that Pabu. I was worried that
I can't ever say with that.
it made sense that Pabu was going to be their end destination.
Yeah.
But I was worried when all of a sudden the CX troopers and
That's
and
true,
Hemlock
yeah.
tracked him there.
but now
but-
it makes sense.
The CX troopers are gone, and Hemlock's gone, and
Yeah.
Hemlock's not one to
Prob-
tell anyone secrets. So
Well,
And
yeah. and they
I
don't
also
even-
really like too. And I
Target
was thinking
doesn't
about
care.
this.
whatever.
Tarkin.
We'll
I
get you in
like
time.
that this, not just the finale, but even the last few episodes leading up to the conclusion of Bad Batch as a whole, brought Echo back into the picture as part of the batch
Mhm.
because he was there
That's
from
right.
the beginning,
Yeah.
and then he had a different mission and goes off with Rex. But in this, they really brought him back as like reminding you, remember he is part of the batch.
He is.
But they did it in a way that he was part of the batch, but he was part of a different part of the mission. So
He still had
he
his
was
own path.
separated.
Yeah.
So it was still showing he's still part of them. But he still has his own path. While this is the core group here and having all like the talk and stuff.
Yeah.
But still reminding everybody that that he was still a vital part of
Yeah.
of being with the batch there at the end. But
I loved
it was
this
just
show.
so
Awesome.
good.
I
Hey,
loved it.
Before, yeah, I agree. Before we wrap up, quick, May the 4th coming Saturday. Do we want to talk maybe some predictions or some wishes?
Ooh, for
Yeah.
Some
sales?
tales, wishes
do it.
for the
or are we
Empire.
saying Phantom Menace predictions?
Ooh, yeah. What's going to
Ooh.
happen with
Predict
that
what's gonna
Maul
happen.
guy?
I'm
Uh,
predicting somehow, and I don't just have a hunch that he'll come back.
Mm.
He'll survive.
Come back. I don't survive. What? I haven't seen Phantom Menace. What happens in Phantom Menace?
I predict the high
Who's
ground.
Darth Maul?
Predict
Predict the high ground.
Spoiling something?
I predict the high ground is irrelevant. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
The high ground's irrelevant.
He's the one who said it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have the high ground.
He didn't have the high ground against Maul.
The low dangling from a cliff ground.
Do you have any predictions for Tales of the Empire? Anything you
Tales of
want to
the
see?
Empire.
Maybe not predictions. What are you most looking forward to seeing? Anything? Everything?
Yeah,
I think
a lot.
more. Well, have you seen the trailer?
Yeah.
Okay, so based off the trailer,
You talking about the first trailer?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's been little TV spots.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
been little
stuff like
TV
that,
spots.
yeah.
I'm just mean the
Yeah.
the first trailer.
Yeah.
So based off the trailer, knowing the characters
Everybody
that are
bowing
involved
before
in it,
Vader.
That was such cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
knowing the characters that are involved, Caesar. I'm excited to see more of Grievous's story.
Grievous. Okay. Yeah.
I'm excited to see that. There's some Morgan Elsbeth there too.
Yeah.
But seeing his I don't know. We've gotten some of that. We've even seen clips of George talking about this idea of Grievous and where he comes from, and
Mhm.
this, him building this character. But we didn't get to see that played out in
Yeah.
the movies.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool to see more of that
It's gonna be cool.
on screen.
I felt like the trailer was like just machine gun, man. Bang, 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 bang,
Yeah.
bang, bang, bang,
Yes.
bang. Look at all this stuff
Totally.
that's coming. It just feels so massive.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, there's so much in the trailer that I'm like, what aren't they showing us as far as, based on what I thought we were going to get for Tales of the Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
Tales of the Jedi way exceeded my expectations as far as we're getting these moments between
Yeah.
Dooku and a young Qui-Gon
Right.
In Yaddle?
and Yaddle and Palpatine and all this tied into. So this I'm very excited to see. He might be just a little bit of it, but he was in the trailer. I'm excited to see Thrawn in
Thrawn,
this
yeah.
format.
Yes.
I'm excited to see Morgan Elsbeth in the connection to Thrawn, and it's always interesting when you get a character who's like, I've been through a hardship. It sounds like I've been through a hardship, maybe even based because of the Empire. Like the Empire destroyed the Night Sisters, but my response is to then go join the Empire, or to help the Empire. It's interesting.
yeah.
Whenever you see someone who's like, I'm so upset about something that happened, I'm actually gonna go join the organization who maybe was responsible for it. So I'm very interested to see the nuance of her story, because what we do know is throughout Ahsoka, she has constantly been in this I'm doing all this for the Empire, and then when he turns his back, she's like, for Dathomir. So she's never been for the Empire.
No.
She's been for the redemption of her people.
She's
So
been for the redemption of her
Oddly
people.
enough, he's
Yeah.
not for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in seeing any Night. I always love Night Sister stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm very interested in
Yeah.
seeing her journey, seeing some of the other Night Sisters, whether it's on Dathomir or elsewhere. And then obviously Barriss Offee is going to be very interesting, just because this is a character that's
Yes.
was pretty much from
Yeah.
a fandom standpoint was there was this hanging out there, but also felt like, well, we may never get these answers because there's just so many bigger
Tales of the Empire.
fish to fry or
And
to
just-
focus on.
And just more Vader,
Path
more
to the
Inquisitors.
Yeah.
Anytime we can get Vader in anything,
I agree.
It's just
Also, anytime we can get a character who knows or might know who Vader actually is so interesting. Kind of
Yes.
like Reva in Obi-Wan.
true.
So this, she knows. Not only does she know Anakin, Anakin spoke at the trial
That's right.
where he's the one who turned her over.
Mm-hmm.
It was Barriss Offee who did this and saves Ahsoka because she's the one who did the bombing, and for anyone who's watched Clone Wars, she was framing basically she's upset with the Jedi. She's upset with where the Jedi Order has gone. She has some valid concerns, just like Ahsoka has some valid concerns, except
Mhm.
that her then response is to blow up a building and and do horrific things in the name of getting back at in the name of justice.
Dooku style.
Dooku style.
Yeah, you do it wrong.
Vigilante stuff of I'm gonna create
Yeah.
some chaos, and also, so it's I'm just excited to see more of her storytelling and see what obviously it looks like she's gonna become an Inquisitor.
Also, where does she go from there? Because we don't see her ever after that as an Inquisitor.
No.
Yeah,
Vader will end her.
yeah.
I don't know if
this will be
we won't see
interesting.
that. Yeah, anytime Vader's on there, I would love. The one thing I want to see that we'll probably never see, might be silly. Nobody cares about this. When Vader spins off in Episode 4 and flies away,
Yeah.
what happens after that? I want to know how he hooked up, where he went, what.
Yes. Where
That's
does
not
he
a story.
regroup to?
That's not. Nobody cares about that. But I always want to know what.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Where did
Yeah.
he go? He connected with a ship and got back in somehow.
I'm with you because
Anyway.
it feels like he's
He's just back.
yeah.
The next one,
yeah.
I don't know.
True.
It's
That's not
always
going to be in this, but
It's just him. It's just him and his ship searching for.
that's one of my top connections list. He's
No.
got his playlist.
I've-
Just rocking along,
this is
flying through the galaxy.
It's Guardians of the Galaxy music.
Exactly.
yeah.
Ooga shaka.
I always think of one of my favorite Guardians is actually Guardians moments is not even from Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's from is it from Infinity War? Yeah, of the hey, y'all prepare yourself for the rubber band. And they're all sitting there singing and dancing
So
and
Yeah.
and then you got Groot. I am Groot. Whoa, watch
Hey,
the language.
Ever since you got a little sap on you.
Yeah, you got a little sap. It's just, I am Groot.
So funny.
Teenage punk teenage Groot.
So
It's
great.
always great.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well,
Nate, where can the people find?
there you have it. Bad Batch. Come
and
to
when
a
I say at the
conclusion.
end, they're kind of they're her brothers, but they're kind of the dad batch.
The
I mean,
dad batch
they
True.
are-
with the dad bods.
They're the dad
the
bods.
dad buds. You look at
The-
these buds.
The bod batch. The
And
bod
this time,
batch. Probably.
found us.
This time, you found us.
I found you every time.
I found you every time.
I've saved
I
you
saved
every
you every
time.
time.
Always save you.
And this time, you found us. I don't know why that delivery
I
in
know,
that
I-
episode was so great.
We searched the galaxy 7 times over looking for you. And this time you found us. It's just so,
Just so
I love
good.
it.
Hey, that's sad. Wrapping up. Bad Batch.
Give me more
There you
Emery
go.
storytelling.
Yeah.
Bad Batch.
Last thing, 'cause I know we're wrapping. This take 30 seconds. I want to see a little talk about connections. I want to see. Meanwhile, on Tantus, and all of a sudden it's a Dr. Persian going, "No, what's this data pad project Necromancer?" And he's looking at it, and he's sitting there going,
Hmm.
I wonder if Gideon would be interested.
Yeah.
You got
Oh,
one
Ma.
little sign. Oh ma, oh ma. It's just, and
Give
they
this to
cut
Pershing. He'll use it.
They cut to him sitting at a. He's sitting at a booth, and you hear, "Is everything to your satisfactory?" And it's
everything
and
to
he
your
looks
satisfaction.
up.
Los Pollos
he's,
Hermanos.
he's sitting there.
Did I
And,
refill your Diet Coke?
he's sitting there, and Moff Gideon's in his Imperial uniform, but he's at Los Pollos Hermanos, and he's.
Would you like a refill?
He's like, "I think you're satisfactory." All right, and he's sitting there, and he's like, "I think you might be interested in this data pad that I found," and he gives it to him, and he goes, "We'll take a look at that, sir." And he goes back. "Let's step into my office," and he goes back there, and just that's how Project Necromancer.
That's
continues
how it got
into
started.
The Gideon form of Gideon goes, "Wait, what
Pershing's,
if I cloned myself?" And we forget about the Emperor's plan.
Pershing's working the register.
Pershing's
Pollos Hermanos.
Hermanos mopping up.
Would you like to upsize that to a medium or large?
Pershing's sitting there, and he's doing that, and in the background, he's just constantly like, "I was a scientist." His
Was
fall
a
is, "I'm a
scientist."
Made for more than this.
They set up shop right next to Bad Batch Pizza parlor.
Get your paws.
Stop
That's
throwing them on the
fine.
ceiling. I can't help it.
I can't help it.
Like, oh, that'll be $3, and then you hear, technically, it's
Tex-
$2.99, and all of a
Tex-
sudden you look, he looks up, and it's Tech right there, who's just like sitting there with his wallet, ready to play. Tech.
Echo's
can't
new
see the
Echo's
board.
hand is
I
just
He can't see because his goggles.
Can I have the? What's the price for the?
his goggles are left on the ship.
Guy-
Omega took his goggles.
Omega's out there with his broken goggles. He's like,
Oh,
I've been
man.
looking. I've been looking 5 years for you all, but I can't find my goggles. He's just been going like this across the galaxy until he finally.
Oh
finally
look, it's.
finds them.
Never mind.
Man,
Oh,
there you have it.
They all got
Bad
brown
Batch.
eyes.
that's it.
Not only season finale, but series finale.
Oh.
What a great show! If you haven't seen it, highly recommend
Rest
it.
in peace,
It's
Sid the Kid.
incredible.
Rest in peace.
We're
In my
looking
heart,
forward.
she
There
didn't
might
actually
be. We
die,
might
but-
get some
No.
more Omega. We might get some more Omega. Hopefully, they'll continue to tell her story
Hope so.
in any form, live action, animation, whatever. But if you made it this far, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following us along with us throughout our Bad Batch review throughout the season. So we appreciate the support. We got Darth says hi guys. What's up?
Just in
What's
time.
up? Just in time for our
Darth.
wrap up. You'll have to watch it back. But
Only master.
Welcome.
Either though.
thanks for
Which
tuning
is your
in.
first
If you
name?
made it this far, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and smash the notification bell. We'll catch you guys in the next episode. Goodbye to the Bad Batch. Goodbye to the Bad
farewell.
Batch. Farewell. I feel like we're
Concourse
sending off
99.
Omega.
It feels like our episode of the podcast will fade to white, like when
Yes.
when Kanan dies, like
then we'll-
whenever they
Yeah.
have the bad.
And then we'll age ourselves, and we'll
Yeah.
be sending someone off to
but
fight the.
There you have it.
so we'll be old, but nobody wants to see. I don't want to see that.
I don't see that.
I don't want to see an
Yeah.
old.
You know him well. May the force be with you.
He's turning into
Where's
Watto.
my coffee?
He's
I
turning
can't-
into Watto and at the same time.
Oh,
Omega.
What's that? Oh.
It is you, Omega.
Old Watto.
It is, yeah.
How's old record?
Save going off the rails for the end today.
There
Yeah,
you go.
the
There
very
you have
end.
it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys in the next one. And as always, may the force be with you.
And one last time.
I like to blow stuff up because I like to blow stuff up.
Just
It
make
is
them
you, Omega.
pizzas.
Which, quite frankly, he didn't go this route today. But when you look at it, the Bad Batch were a bunch of failures. I prefer mine to have hands.
Extraordinary power and a bit cocky.
I like brown
You must be a
eyes.
Skywalker.
I prefer
Let's
having
just
brown
go crazy.
eyes.
Keep this going.
Who ordered the large
Hello,
pizza?
goggles.
Hello, guys. I said pepperoni.